It's your girl, Queen Unique, the acting queen, coming to you with another deadly romance episode. Today, we're going to be discussing Scott Falliter. I don't know if I pronounced that right. That's his name. He was convicted of killing his wife. His defense was he was sleepwalking when it happened. Let's jump into it. So, in 1999, he was convicted. So in 97, um, his name was Scott Falliter, and he was a Mormon, and he admitted to stabbing his wife 44 times with a hunting knife and drowning her in the swimming pool. There was really no motive, they say, but he tried to mount sleepwalking as his defense. His lawyer suggested he had gone to fix the pool pump while sleeping and attacked his wife when she started to stop him, which, yeah, that didn't happen. Um, he said that he had a history of sleepwalking, was sleep deprived, and was unconscious at the time of the attack. Um, but it had came out before in the trial that he had no history of sleepwalking. So, you know, that was interesting to see how that played out. Um, a neighbor had peeked over his fence and had saw what had happened. He was watching him stab his wife, and he also had watched him throw his wife in a pool and hold her down, trying to drown her after he had stabbed her 44 times. So it says a neighbor who had witnessed the drowning called the police testified to seeing him drag her into the backyard. And the neighbor had also saw him standing over his wife's body, then head to the garage for work gloves. When returning, Folliter moved her body and several planned stages to the pool, where he then pushed her in and held her head underwater. She did not resist. Um, the neighbor also witnessed Folliter motion his dog to lie down, a possible sign of consciousness. So the knife, the clothing, boots, gloves, undergarments were stuffed in Tupperware containers, then hidden in his car. And in 1999, he was found guilty. The reason why he thought he could get away with this because there was a case right here, right up under it, RV Parks, 1992, where the guy was acquitted um, for doing a killing that he has said was a sleepwalking case. And so, like right here, let me read you a little bit of this. It says, this happened in Canada. Um, Canada. A Toronto man, Kenneth Parks, was acquitted of the murder. For his defense was also sleepwalking. So it said, okay, the Supreme Court of Canada decision on a criminal automism defense. In 1987, Kenneth Parks, a 23-year-old married father, arose from the couch where he had fallen asleep in front of the TV, put on his coat, and drove 14 miles to the house of his in-laws. There he strangled his father-in-law until unconscious, and then bludgeoned his mother-in-law with a tire iron before stabbing both of them with a kitchen knife. The woman died. The man barely survived. From all accounts, Parks had been very close with his in-laws and seemed to lack motive for the attack. However, Parks was recently unemployed and under a lot of stress. The evening of the attacks, he may have been thinking about visiting his in-laws the following day with his wife to tell them about his financial and gambling problems. After the attack, Parks got into his car and drove to the police station confused. He appeared oblivious to the fact that he'd severed tendons in both of his hands. His obliviousness to pain and strong family history of paraphernalia led experts to testify that Parks had been sleepwalking during the attack. It appears as though the victims had found Parks wandering around in their house and, in attempting to restrain him, provoked the attack. Um, Parks was acquitted for the murder. Not conscious, not responsible, not guilty. So that's why he got the idea to do that. Now, there have been other convictions of it. There was one other, there was altogether three acquittals for this defense. One was in 1846 in Boston, um, 2005 in England, and then the one in 1992. Everybody else was convicted, and even one, two convicted and held on appeal. So, it's not the first time that somebody's used this defense of, oh, I was sleepwalking and killing, and that's what led me to kill my wife. The thing about it is that when this man was doing this, he was doing things that showed signs of consciousness. Because when a sleepwalker sleepwalks, they don't realize what they're doing. So them not realizing what they're doing, they don't need to take their clothes off. They don't need to take their undergarments off. And with him being a Mormon, you know, and him wearing um, specific undergarments tailored to his religion, there would be no need for him to take them off except for when he showered. So the fact that he took all that off, his clothing, everything, what would have been the reason for him to do that? Unless he was conscious. And so there was a lot of things in that case that didn't sit right with a lot of people, which is why he got convicted. Now, his son, this is what I found very interesting. His son had um, spoken out about it. His son was, if I'm not um, mistaken, his son, I think, was 10 or 12 when this happened. And and I think he had a daughter too. And both of them were asleep at the time that it happened. Both of them were in the house and were asleep. So they claimed that they didn't hear any noise, they didn't hear any the mother screaming, that they didn't hear anything. So they were like, "Well, how could this be if you're in the house? How do you not hear your mother screaming?" Another fact about this case is that we were trying to get him, not we, because I wasn't there, but they were trying to get him to explain, how do you not hear your wife screaming, and she's waking up the neighbors with the screaming, but the thing that wakes you up and brings you back to consciousness is the alarm on your watch. That's what wakes you up. That's what makes you um, come back to reality and realize what you did. Not your wife screaming, not a barking dog, but an alarm set on your watch. That just doesn't make any sense. So there was a lot of things that was inconsistent. How do you explain those little details? He researched the case, looked at specific information, and tried to use that as his own defense. But what he didn't do was research it thoroughly and research sleepwalkers' patterns, um, sleepwalkers, like anything that a sleepwalker does. He did not look into that. He did not research that. So for him, he thought that he was going to get away because he had seen the case of somebody else get away with it. So he was trying to use information from that case. But when he got on that stand and testified, he didn't have an explanation for anything. So again, how do you rationale sleepwalking as a defense if you haven't had a history of sleepwalking? That's just certain things that obviously didn't make any sense.